Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to the post-fight show with Stormybman for this Saturday, September 27th, 2025. This is the post-fight show for Lopez versus Henderson. The fight just wrapped up on Probox TV. There's still one more fight going on, a special edition. Lopez versus Henderson, battle of light heavyweights. I'll tell you, that new generation of boxer is coming on strong, people. I've told anyone who would listen that what we have been seeing the past few years was kind of evolving into something else, and that there's a new wave of fighters coming along, just like what happens, I said, in professional sports with the NFL, the NBA, professional baseball. Some of the old stalwarts and standbys, the names most familiar to you, they will begin to go by the wayside as these young folk come along. And all of them are not pretentious. All of them are not coddled, spoiled, pampered. Some of them are inspired, motivated, dedicated. And you will see in due time the separation of what has been present and what is going to align itself for the future. So just hold fast, and the words that I speak will ring true. You will find. So salute everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about this Probox card. There was also a card on the Zone. I didn't get a chance to review all of those fights, but once I do, I will come back and do a commentary on what we found there. It was primarily the ladies, but there were some fights on there that are worth talking about as well, because that's what we do on this channel here. I want to say shout out to my brother Junior the Truth, who was making an attempt to call this fight card on Probox this evening, but life got the better of Junior and he checked out at the wrong time. You know, I tell you, so I gotta go light on my brother, but not too light, because you know Stormy drops the hammer, you know, and Junior dropped the ball, because when he decided to check out, there was a little special event that was Raul Garcia against Emiliano Moreno. And boy, did that turn out to be a barn burner of a fight. The co-main of Lopez versus Henderson. And we'll talk about that in a moment as well. But I keep telling you all, watch boxing, right? And Junior was like, man, I'm getting tired. I'm getting sleepy. This is going too long. I started too early. Well, see, that's what happens, man. When you obligate yourself to cover the sport of boxing, you're going to have some lemons, huh? But you got to be prepared to make some lemonade. Yeah! You see? And some lemonade can be bitter. And some of that lemonade will be just right, huh? With a little bit of ice in there, huh? And the glass be sweating from the condensation, huh? Yeah. That's what makes it good. That's what makes it sweet. The sweet science of boxing. Yeah, we're going to take a quick moment and do a roll call. See who we got in the building this evening. Some of you all have been watching boxing this evening like myself, and ready to talk about it. Let's see who we got out there. Mac of the South. In early, saying salute to the Grandmaster. We live and exclusive. Yes, sir. Mark Wunderlich is back. Mark is showing up now since I called him out. I appreciate your appearance there, Mark. I'm glad to see you back amongst the ranks, brother. He says, touch that like button. Hashtag LDBC. Hashtag Bomb Squad. Hashtag Team Petty. You dig? Yeah. Red 4 ATX is in the building. What's happening, man? He says, yo, what's poppin'? Mr. Shelton is back with us. Bean pie, my brother. Hey, Del.Rev is out there saying, salute, Stormy. Had some entertaining fights on Probox tonight. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Adrian Vitt is back in the building saying, salute, Sensei in chat. Right back at you. Shower Liars in the building saying, shalom, Stormy in chat. You're doing good, Shower? Hadn't seen you around some of the lives. You must have been working. If you've been working, that's all right. It's just good to see you. Jonathan Simon is out there saying, salute, OG. Blessings to you. Right back at you, brother. My brother Drew Titan in the building saying, salute, Mr. Call, out with the family right now. I got you, Drew. I know you be busy, man. I was just going to say that if you caught that Garcia fight in Moreno, oh my goodness. If you weren't home to check it out, Drew, when you get a chance, go watch it. Another candidate for Fight of the Year. Well, I tell you, our boxing is something else, you guys. And it comes from when you least expect it too, right? It just shows up like that. It's like, boom. And next thing you know, you be like, oh man, here's another candidate for Fight of the Year, huh? So, yeah. Always something special going down, man. Always something special going down. Who else we got out there? Everybody else is saluting one another. Okay, Showers say been taking a break. Okay, we got you. Yeah. So, good stuff. But hey, let's talk about these light heavyweights, man. Now, some people may think that the match between Lopez and Henderson was a bit of a lopsided affair. Not really action-packed until the 5th round when it finally ended and Najee took Calvin out. But I'm here to remind you guys to know what you're looking at when you're watching boxing. Sometimes there are fighters who will deliver the goods even when it's not necessarily spectacular, but it's from a place of where you could see, even in the youthfulness of a fighter's performance, that they happen to have something special there. And Mr. Najee Lopez, all 26 years of him, with his record now 15-0, I think he is now. He's special. 12 KOs. The young man is 6'2", out of Atlanta, Georgia. And he has a frame that looks like he could carry cruiserweight very easily. Being only 26, he'll probably grow into a cruiserweight. A Puerto Rican fighter who shows patience. He shows technical capability. He keeps his hands up, which, my goodness, is such a wonderful thing to see when a young fighter can keep his guard up, regardless of if he's having success offensively or not. Najee looks like he can really cover space with range. I was very impressed with his performance against Henderson this evening because Henderson is an experienced fighter. Experienced in age as well as bouts. Hot Sauce is what his nickname is, out of Fort Worth, Texas, 35 years of age, 19-3 now, with 1 draw and 13 KOs. He's been stopped twice, tonight being the 2nd time. Now, David Morrell stopped him back in June of 2022 when they fought at the Armory in Minneapolis. He had claimed that it was really the difficulty of the southpaw position of Morrell, where he didn't do well in that situation. And it was at 168 that fight was fought. But I'll tell you something. Najee looks like he could deal with Morrell right now. I mean, this young man is strong. He can be powerful. See, and I say can be because what I like about Najee is he holds back. He has patience. He's not buck wild with his execution. He operates behind what looks to be, to me, an experienced eye, it looks a game plan that they map out the way he stopped Henderson, it looked like he could have done that inside of 2 rounds. But I liked how he built the stoppage. By the time he unleashed on Calvin, the referee had nothing to do but to step in and intercede, because what was happening is Henderson was going to get hurt. And you don't want that to happen. Now, some people, like the ringside analysts, they were talking about the ref should have just let it go to its completion or something like that. No, not when you have a gentleman like this. You see, and he's all business in there, people. No playing, no showboating, ready to get down to the nitty and the gritty. And I like that. It's an admirable quality in this present day and time, because we're seeing a lot of the young fighters posturing, and some of them showboat a little bit, and they play with their food, so to speak. I wonder what it's going to be like when this young man unleashes on someone. We might be looking at the new next generation champion at 175. And I say that with a lot of confidence, because I've seen about 4 of his fights now. And each outing, there's a huge growth spurt between the last fight and the present fight. And they're going to have to put him in some next level opposition type scenarios, because he's too good to be bringing along like a prospect. He's ready for contention status. So in his next fight, he should be fighting someone just outside of the top 10 or within the lower aspect of the top 10, where you're talking about maybe 7 through 10. He's that good. Fast hands, alertness, can see everything. Having good eyes is very important in the sport of boxing, and he appears to have that. There were moments when Calvin was trying to do certain things, like with his jab or whatever, and Najee had a quick response for it, like a counter and a shot to throw at him to make him not throw the shot again. I was like watching the chess game, and it looked very good from a Lopez point of view. We don't know about his chin yet, because the opposition that he's been facing, they haven't had the opportunity to get to him like that. But you heard me speak earlier about he keeping his guard up. He's not one of those guys that's dropping his hands and waving his hand lowly and all of that kind of thing. He's like efficient and proficient in there as he is doing his thing. He appears to have a full arsenal of shots. I noticed certain combinations that he was throwing at Henderson. Once he began to land solidly, he was following up with like the 45. He was following with the cross. He was throwing the hook off the jab. He was throwing the right hand, left hook combination. What I would like to see is a little bit more body work too. But you can't ask for too much. They only went 5 rounds, and he took care of that business inside of that 5 rounds. His jab is effective. His jab is piston-like. It's a snapping jab and a pulverizing jab. I had remarked earlier that he reminds me of a young Maul Charlo when Maul first moved up to middleweight. And you could just see Maul being a sizable middleweight with that same type of body build where he's a broad, stout fighter, stern with a pumping, popping jab. Now, Maul's jab was more of a punishing, pounding jab, but Najee's jab is a snapping jab. And I would imagine that he could pound with that jab as well, like Maul, but he's a much larger man than Maul is. And it's like, but that there's a similarity there in their structure, and almost, you know, it's interesting to see that. But his hands are very fast. Once he cut free with a few shots at Henderson, I was like, man, this is only a matter of time. Only a matter of time. But I really enjoyed how he took his time through the fight. He didn't rush it. He didn't try to impress the viewers. He just went about his work. And I like that, because a fighter that can do that can not only loosen himself up in the fight, but he can open the opponent up to making mistakes. And that's something to pay attention to, because usually the more experienced guys, 20 plus fights or whatever, who've been in the game over a decade or more or something like that, they're the ones who can really set those type of traps for their opponents. But this young man, keep your eye out for him. I mean, there's something good happening there. Really enjoyed his performance this evening. And he also leaves that type of impression of, you can't wait to see him again. You know, when can I see this guy again? Hopefully, this is probably asking too much. This is September. If he could come back in December or January, that'll be great. You know what I mean? Keep that young man busy, keep him growing, and keep him in the gym. Yeah. So that's what I, will say about Najee and his performance in the this evening's fight. He did very well. I grade his performance out quite high, because, like I said, 26 years of age, but handling himself like a veteran. Very good stuff. And Calvin gets to come back, with the ref stopping him before he really took an immense pounding. It's okay. Now, getting to that matchup that took place as the co-main event. Akondo, what's good with you, brother? I see you out there. Aaron Butler, 262. I see you as well. Chris, salute to you. That co-main event, man, with Raul Garcia, the Dominican fighter, against Emiliano Moreno. Pretty darn good fight there. The fight started out with Emiliano in pursuit of Garcia, and he was imposing himself because he's the type of fighter that likes to set the pace and the tone. And though Raul isn't a great puncher, he was able to show something in this fight. He entered the fight with a record of 14-2 with one draw, with 12 KOs. But at 27, you think about his opposition. His 2 losses to Leonardo Ruiz in 2023 and Vladimir Hernandez in September of 2024, just a year ago. He lost unanimous decisions in that fight. Now, he had put Hernandez down, but he was down twice in the fight himself. So that's why it ended up being a unanimous decision loss for him. But it was an action-packed, back-and-forth type battle. And that was on Probox. So you guys could go back and watch that fight. But boy, did he show up and show out this evening. Again, when you talk about being a boxing fighter, utilizing your skills, a jab, working behind the jab, working the body. This is what we saw from Raul tonight. And Emiliano, being the aggressor that he is, he entered the fight tonight with a record of 12-0 with 7 KOs. He's 20 years of age, but they're grooming him to be a different type of a fighter. He came in with a Mexican poncho on that had a picture depicting what they believe to be the image of the Christ. But hey, you know, when he came in, he was trying to present himself aggressively. Now, at super welterweight, both of these guys were not huge bangers, but they were very strong. But Garcia's body work, that stab jab to the gut and right hands to the gut, hooks to the gut, had Moreno kind of rethinking things. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed watching Raul win the fight. Now, understand that Moreno came into this fight as the favorite going in. But as the rounds commenced, I was saying to myself, I was like, this is some pretty darn good back and forth action, but it appears to me that Garcia is controlling the action. He's dictating the fight. And both of them had moments where they were landing certain types of shots that was knocking the other guy off balance. And I found that to be very interesting. Trading and exchanging blows to a degree that it's like, wow, you know, it's a head scratcher. But man, what an entertaining fight. Another candidate for Fight of the Year, definitely for Probox, because when they have these matchups with these guys, they really show up to battle. You don't get a lot of guys kind of like, what do you call it, going through the paces. You should have heard Chris Algieri and Paulie as they were calling the fight. And they were all excited about the blows that were landing and everything. And they were saying, guys, if you were sitting ringside with us and you could hear these punches, we don't know if you could hear it on TV. And, you know, I have a sound system, you know, on my television and everything. I could hear those blows landing. It was quite, you know, debilitating. Pow, boom, smack. I was like, yeah, I was into it, you know. Great fight. And it was very interesting because the judges had it unanimously for Garcia, which was a surprise because I thought that they would go a little different. But scores of 98 to 92, 96 to 94, 97 to 93. That 96 to 94 was a little too close. I believe that it was close to the 98 to 92 and 97 to 93. Raul was really putting it to task on Moreno. So overall, a pretty sturdy performance by both guys. And I'm so happy for Garcia because he'll get an opportunity again to come back. And I'm going to tell you, man, the way that young man fought and kept his wits about himself, hey, listen, he can position himself for a title shot. And as I said before, when we were talking about Boots Ennis jumping up to 154, man, there's some fighters up there at 154. Boy, don't you dare think you're gonna go up there and just have your way as you were doing at 147. It ain't happening, Captain. It ain't. Not at all. I'm just saying, you know. And these young men, there's some battle-tested guys out there. And just because you hit hard or something, some of these cats ain't gonna just lay down for you. It's gonna require a work and an effort to get people out of there at 154, man. And Moreno did pretty darn good for a guy who's only 20 years of age. So, you know, Joe Townsend, what's good with you, brother? The pimpin' in the building. What's happening? Yeah, so, but a candidate for Fight of the Year. It was a lot of back and forth there, man. And both guys, and even in the 10th and final round, Moreno had Garcia wobbling a little bit, stumbling around. And there was a moment where he was trying to get at him, and Moreno hit him. Raul hit him with a jab, and he threw a wild left, and he went to the canvas and hurt himself. He hit the canvas and hurt his arm, but the ref waved it off as a slip. But because the jab landed on his chin, it should have been called a knockdown, even though it wasn't a clean knockdown from the jab, and his wild swing momentum carried him. I've seen worse scenarios get called a knockdown, and that ref tonight was like, you know, but hey, when you think about the ref, Michael DeJesus, yeah, he looked a little bit biased, if you ask me. He did. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it like it is, man. You know, sometimes these guys, these doggone refs, man, they pick their times, don't they? I'm going to insert myself right here. Whatever, man. But I enjoyed it. It was a good night of boxing. They had super featherweights out there. Christian Chacon out there with Jeremy Hill. And listen, Jeremy Hill showed up like he reminded me of Anthony Hembrick when he took on Booker T. Ward. He didn't come out dancing and doing the boogaloo like Hembrick did back then and got knocked out. But he came out there real casual like, and looked to me to be a guy that was disinterested maybe. And guess what happened? Chacon said, surprise, I'm here and I'm going upside your head for as long as we gonna be in here. Now, in rounds 9 and 10, Hill tried to fight hard, but it was too much too late. Chacon had built up a lead, had really taken it to him, and it was the type of situation where it didn't benefit him to have that mentality that he entered with tonight, because he seemed really laid back. They say he's from New Orleans, huh? And he just wasn't ready. Chacon was ready. Chacon was all on top of the dude. And it's unfortunate because if the first and second round didn't rile him up to say, hey, let me get into this, then it wasn't going to happen. And guess what? It didn't happen. So he ended up losing a unanimous decision. And of course, he was dejected and unhappy. But, you know, he did it to himself, man. He did it to himself. .511 against 5.5, and he couldn't establish a jab. He couldn't establish that reach of 71 inches to 66.5. It was very lackluster. Now I'm gonna tell you something. The judges called this a split decision, but it wasn't a split decision. I had it unanimous for Chacon. And if they did try to give it to Hill, I was going to be very upset about that. Because Chacon won that fight hands down. Now, what would be great is if they force his ass into a rematch, because he's 32 now, and he was supposed to be the A side in this fight. You know, make him fight Chacon again. And if he still shows up unready, that should be the end of him, because Chacon was ready, man. And super featherweights, I'm telling you, these guys come in, man. It's like you cannot. And I was trying to say to Junior as he was, you know, before he had went off air, I was like, dude, you gotta call the action. You gotta look at what's happening with these fighters. One fighter shows fortitude, the other fighter shows he kind of don't want to be there or something like that. And those are the aspects of boxing that you don't know until that bell rings. Those are what Kurt Sugar used to call the intangibles. You just don't know. Hill seemed to talk a good game and everything leading up to the fight, you know, threatening and talking the mess that you talk. But once the bell rang, he was very docile. It was like Chacon was like, what'd you call me? What? All upside his head. Yeah. So, you know, these kind of things. Ravens Nation, what good with you, man? Yeah, he's 32, bro. 32, huh? Out there messing around. He should have known when Chacon came in there that he was going to be all business. I looked at Chacon when he took his robes and stuff off and he was pounding his gloves. I was like, he ready. Jeremy was over there like, where the gumbo at? Chacon say, don't you see it? It's on the floor right there. Bah! Yeah, buddy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a good night of fights, man. Good night of fights. We had super welterweights, Isaiah, Lucero taking on Joshua, Kevin Anton. That turned into a bit of a back and forth until Anton turned it up on Lucero. Lucero, by the third round, had got some body work in there and everything. And I guess Joshua was like, not tonight, sucker. And he started playing the bongos upside of Lucero's head. You know, super welterweights. I keep telling you guys, you have to watch the sport of boxing, man. There's so many things that can happen. Ebb and flow, turning of the tide, all of that stuff. And that's what we saw. Shaw says, yeah, Zero, I'll let that one slide. Yep. So, it is what it is, you know. It is what it is. But and the program opened up with super lightweights, Anthony Cuba and Jorge De Jesus. Man, De Jesus was supposed to be the favorite fighter in that match. And you know, I tell you, it was some upsets tonight, you guys. That Hill Chacon fight, that was an upset. The Cuba De Jesus, that fight was an upset. Man, what's going on here? Garcia Moreno was an upset. It was just a night of that. It was a night of that tonight, you know. But Cuba fighting out of the Garcia Boxing Academy. Young kid, 22 years of age. De Jesus out of Puerto Rico was 23 and a southpaw. But he was the favorite fighter going in. I think he was undefeated. Well, Cuba has something to say about that. De Jesus, no, he had one loss on his record when he came in. But he got shown something tonight. See, that kid over there, Cuba, fighting out of Garcia Gym, you know, there's good fighters out of there. I keep telling people, you could be biased all you want to, but you still have to give people credit for what they do. And Robert Garcia and his academy, they have good young fighters over there, and Robert Garcia is a good quality boxing coach. I remember when the fight card was opening up and they had come to the ring and I saw him on the ring apron, I was like, oh, this kid is coached by Robert? I was like, okay, I expect him to really, you know, show something. And boy, did he ever. He came out, he was a little sloppy, feet spread a little too far apart, balance was off a little bit, but his determination and the fact that he was aggressive and throwing punches in bunches, I was like, I don't think De Jesus was ready for that. And his activity overwhelmed him. At the end of the day, that's what it was. He was overwhelmed. And it can happen. That's why your conditioning is very important. You got to have proper conditioning. Your conditioning not up, you're going to have some issues. So that's how that went there. But overall, a very solid night for Probox. A very solid night for Probox. Salute to those guys that produced that show. And once again, here they are, like on a Saturday where the major cards weren't happening. They need to invest in that more, because when they align themselves with those major cards, they still put quality fights on, but people are going to go for the major cards because there's usually the bigger name fighters at the top of the sport competing at those times, and people are more inclined to look at that first. Doesn't mean they won't check out what's happening on Probox, but if they could keep those days between Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday broadcast, they could do themselves a real justice by, you know, airing those matches up like that. But yeah, that's how I feel about that. But overall, damn good night of boxing. You know, damn good night of boxing. What do you guys think about tonight's night of boxing on Probox? See if we get any response. Chris says it's a solid weekend for boxing. Yeah, I agree. Very solid weekend. Yep. Shower says, I went back and forth. What were you between the other cars on the zone? Yeah. Shower says, I wanted to see the Canadian fighters. They've been looking real good up there. Yeah, there's been a lot happening, right, with the Canadian fighters. I keep telling people, you know, fighters, just because they're from a certain region and you don't know them, that doesn't mean that they're not good. You know what I mean? It's like, gotta tune in and watch those fighters, man. Give them credit. Yep. That's like me. I'll be watching. Sometimes I'll have to go back and catch a replay of a fight that I had been intending to watch or something. But there's so much boxing now. It's like you're bound to miss something, right? It's like it's just busy like that now. It's real busy. I'm not complaining though. Not in the least. So. Yeah. But I'm going to get ready to get on out of here. Won't keep you guys too late. Just wanted to come out and do a little quick post-fight. You know, it's great. It's great to check out these fights, you know, and you see some of these young fighters that you may not have known much about. It's great. It's great. So. But I thank you guys for tuning in. We got more fights coming up next weekend. And then we'll get into some real heated cards coming up too on the horizon. So with that being said, get on out of here. I thank everybody for tuning in. Those who hit the like button, thank you for hitting the like button. Also, for Patreon members, there's some new Patreon content up there. I see I had a couple of people that said they kind of chose that they didn't want to support the Patreon anymore, and that's okay. But with all the boxing, and I've talked about this, it's like, okay, my Patreon, I hadn't put some new material up in a few weeks, so, but I'll be putting some more up there, and maybe those who decided to step away will return. If not, there'll be some new people to come along, because I have some quality subjects to speak on. And the Patreon is the place to do it. And I'm not neglecting anything or anyone. And I just want people to understand, if you've signed up for the Patreon, that's better than giving me a super chat, because you get exclusive content over there. You know what I mean? So that's how that works. Anyway, we're going to get on up out of here. I want to say enjoy the rest of your weekend. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Jessica, what are you doing? You know you can't swim. Get away from the water, Jessica. Jessica, get away from the... Oh, my God. Somebody help Jessica, please. She can't swim. Go help the... Jessica, run! Jessica, no. Oh, my God. No, Jessica. No, the water is pulling her back in. Where's the lifeguard? Lifeguard, hurry up. You can't swim. Jessica, no! Lifeguard, please save her! Yes, do lifeguard! Save her, no! Please, Jessica! Oh, look, hey! That husband is coming! Oh, do one of them yet! Hey, please, save her! Jessica! They're coming now, they're here! Jessica!